On a stormy mountain, a young man climbs a ladder to reach the gate of a huge building, an asylum. As every night, when he arrives at the entrance, the door is locked and no one opens, no matter how hard he knocks on it. A knock on the door wakes him up, and his brother tells him that it is time to eat. As he has done every day for the past 5 years, he puts on a blindfold and goes down to the dining room, guided by his sense of touch and a certain extrasensory perception that he has been developing in recent times, which allows him to perceive everything around him. On his way down, he is told that the doctor has come to do a checkup. The doctor asks him about the cause of his blindness, and he explains that it was the result of observing someone resembling an angel in the moonlight while he was on the roof. Since that day, he cannot open his eyes. The doctor looks at him in disbelief, and he changes his story by telling him that it was all the result of an accident where he fell off the roof. This explanation satisfies the doctor, and he ends the examination. At dinner, our young man reassures his family that the healing of his eyes is still underway. Alone in his room, he tries to open them again, but it is impossible. However, his perception has been increasing, and he has now come to feel what is happening around him within a radius of 10 meters. Tired, he goes to his bed to sleep again. That night in the city, some demons try to escape, but they are intercepted by a warrior named Zhao, who blocks their way using the forbidden ruins. While behind them, a young woman announces that their end has come. The next day, the protagonist goes to his first day of classes at the secondary school. In the presentation in the classroom, against all odds, everyone is very kind and accommodating with him despite his condition. At the end of the class, a group surrounds him where three new classmates introduce themselves: Jiang Qian, leader of the class, Fei Yifei, and Liu Yuan, who offers to help him. Lin Qie is surprised by their behavior, and when he asks for an explanation, Qian tries to explain, but is interrupted by Yifei, who tells him that his aunt visited the secondary school a few days before and asked them to treat him as well as possible despite his rough ways and sullen gesture. In gratitude to his aunt, the protagonist decides to give his best so that her effort will not be in vain. Elsewhere, the night watchmen continue their hunt for demons. Hong Ying leads the chase. Wen Qimo is at his side, and they have the mission to exterminate as many demons as possible. When the last demon is eliminated, Hong Ying lets her guard down without noticing that, behind her back, a new demon rises, and without giving her time to defend herself, pierces her with one of its claws. With a breathy whisper, Ying reports her mistake. At dusk on his way home, Chie is walking in the company of his new friends when a foul smell coming from a passage in the wall catches his attention. Curious, the protagonist draws the attention of his companions, and they decide to check inside the passage to find out the source of the stench. Using a flashlight, they go through the tunnel until they find a badly wounded young woman, and upon closer inspection, realize that she is being devoured by a demon. Panicking, they all decide to flee the scene quickly. Jiang Qian throws her bag at the demon and runs faster, trying to escape, when a new apparition surprises her and she is caught by another demon at the exit of the tunnel. Chie tries to fend off the first demon, but it is too much for him. Up against the wall, the protagonist tries to find a way out when a third demon appears above him. Desperate at having come so far and now falling so uselessly, Chie issues a challenge to the sky by activating an energy from his body that is felt even by the archangel standing on the moon, a power greater than the protagonist. Zhao goes running around the city to give support to the hunting party in trouble. Wen Qimo informs him that Ying is seriously injured and the containment operation has failed. The Ghost Mask King makes his appearance and three demons manage to reach the old city. Zhao is heading in that direction when a pillar of light illuminates the sky. A new prodigy is taking place. It could be the appearance of a new forbidden ruin. Its strength is extremely high, even higher than a 6th level expert. From the Night Watch command, they see the apparition and wonder if they are in the presence of a human forbidden ruin or a divine ruin. According to the denomination, it is Divine Code 003, Mikael the King of Angels. The demons jump on the protagonist, but their speed has surprisingly increased, as well as their range of perception has been doubled. When the creatures rush at him, Chie eliminates the first one with one blow, but when confronting the second one, his body goes into a paralysis for no reason, and he falls to the ground. The beasts, realizing this, launch an attack on him. The blow is imminent. The protagonist is helpless and immobile when, out of nowhere, a figure appears and blocks the first attack with ease. He then dedicates himself to eliminating the demons by making use of his sword. When he finishes, Chie does not come out of his astonishment while the stranger communicates the end of the containment mission. Making use of his charisma, the stranger tries to approach the protagonist and offers him a place in his team to be as spectacular as him. However, Chie refuses to accept, arguing the excessive risk that exists in a group dedicated to eliminating demons. Without giving up, the stranger introduces himself as Zhao Kongcheng and asks him to talk to him alone for a while, which the protagonist accepts. Later that night, Chie arrives home, and after asking his brother to finish his homework and go to bed early, he goes ahead and goes to bed without dinner. In his bed, the protagonist thinks about how strange his first day of high school has turned out and the stranger's proposal weighing its pros and cons. When he ends up falling asleep, he returns to the mountain of the mansion. But when he knocks on the door this time, it's ajar, so he puts pressure on it and, to his surprise, it begins to open slowly. In the main courtyard, a new door rises, and above it, a sign is observed with the name Asylum of Gods. When he enters the place, he walks through its corridors to realize that it has a great resemblance with the mental institution where he was confined for a while. On one side, an unknown area appears totally different from the sanatorium where he was interned. A door catches his attention because of the symbols inscribed on it. When he touches the doorknob, the symbols are activated and the door opens, revealing a room where a woman rests sitting on a bed with an expression of deep sadness. When he introduces himself to the stranger, an information system appears and tells him that the woman is Nyx, and his mission is to help her recover from her mental illness. When he achieves some concrete progress, he will be able to extract some of Nyx's power. Likewise, the system informs him that he is in front of the goddess of the night of Greek mythology, being one of the most important and strong enough to defeat mortals and gods without any problem. The first thing is to know what her illness is, and for that he tries to talk to her, but Nyx is only aware that she has lost her son and observes him in everything around her. With the desperation to cure her, the protagonist wakes up in the morning wondering how to do it. At the entrance of the high school, Zhao applies a different approach, having been boarded by Lin Ye the day before, as his case has become a priority. He has awakened Seraphim and must be enlisted in the night guards before the Church of the Old God gets its hands on him. However, the protagonist does not show up at school. In a hospital, Chie finds himself in the psychiatric ward consulting a doctor. He presents Nyx's data to him, as if she were a friend, regarding her behavior and condition in order to get a diagnosis. The doctor asks him to bring his friend to hospital, but the protagonist clarifies that it is not feasible to transfer her. Then the specialist prescribes drugs to help him solve the situation. The problem is how to bring medicines to the world of dreams from reality. While he is walking, he is thinking about his dilemma when, in the opposite direction, Zhao Kongcheng approaches, protesting against Lin Chie's behavior. When they meet face to face, the protagonist tries to escape, but Zhao intercepts him and traps him against the wall. Without giving him a chance, Zhao grabs him by the arm and drags him to a safe place where they can talk without interruption. At a hotel, he asks for a room and locks himself in with Chie. Once alone, Zhao Kongcheng asks the protagonist if he has spoken to Mikael. Zhao explains to Chie that, at the beginning of the 20th century, scientists were exploring the Mariana Trench when a figure crossed the sky above them. It was the dragon of chaos, Leviathan. For the first time in its history, mankind saw a mythical creature, and, in order to keep the society safe, they chose to keep the information of its existence secret. Leviathan was labeled as Creature 001, while Seraphim Mikhail is number 003. In the month of March the 28th, a lightning bolt came out of the moon and devastated a volcano in North America. When the scientists managed to reach the place, they found a sealed god at the bottom of the crater. It was the fallen angel, Lucifer, who was assigned the number 004. Then humans realized that, after the appearance of the mist, humans were born with the ability to awaken a special power. It is what is known as forbidden ruins. Its power, scope, and specialty grows along with the spiritual power of the possessor. The light I observed last night was a power wave from Mikhail, which is an indication of the awakening of the protagonist's forbidden ruin. The forbidden ruins have six main limits according to the state of spiritual power. They would be from lowest to highest: John, Chi, Chuan, High, Endless, and Klein. Excited, Chie asks about his limit, and Zhao explains that he is a little more powerful than a normal person. When he asks, Zhao explains that he does not possess a forbidden ruin, but he has his experience as an ex-Special Forces soldier. About the ruins, there are three ways to acquire them: one by birth, another with a forbidden ruin special object, and the third is that a god grants you part of his power by making you his agent in the world to do his bidding. So far, all the agents of gods discovered are evil and have formed an organization, Church of the Old God, whose sole purpose is to bring chaos to the world. So the question would be, what are Mikhail's orders for his agent? Which side is he on? Chie explains to him that he hasn't received any indication from anyone, and Zhao explains that investigations have pointed out that Mikhail could be neutral or on the side of the good guys, but to deliver a forbidden ruin without any instructions is strange. The protagonist explains to him that no matter what Mikhail says, he doesn't intend to listen to anyone. These are problems he's not interested in getting involved in, so he leaves the place. Zhao stops him and asks him if he doesn't have any questions about everything he has told him, and Chie answers that, not at all. Once he gets involved, they won't leave him alone, or he will join them, or they will eliminate him. Zhao explains to him that nothing like that, he just has to listen to him. And if he doesn't like what he hears, he would just sign a confidentiality contract, and that's it. Continuing with the explanation, he tells him that when they discovered the Leviathan, in Xia, they decided to establish an independent military organization to take care of the people from the attacks of the mythical beings. This organization discovered more mythical beings and more carriers of forbidden ruins. Then they sought to have contact with the gods and train special fighters. This organization is the Night Watchers, an organization with the highest ideals of nobility with the mission to protect Xia and prevent the invasion of any monster or god. The protagonist recognizes how noble the ideals of the organization are, but still does not wish to be a part of it. When Zhao asks him his reasons, Chie explains that for years his family has been by his side, and especially his aunt who has fallen ill while he was out of sight. Now his goal is to earn money to take care of her and buy them everything they need to improve their existence. With nothing more to say, Zhao says goodbye to the protagonist and he goes home. Already in his room, Xie changes his clothes when a plaque falls out of a pocket. This one identified with the name of Zhao Kongcheng, and on the other side, a phrase that gives food for thought. Already in his sleep, the protagonist prepares for his session with Nyx. Carefully, Chie interviews the goddess while trying to gather information on her state of health. According to the literature, Nyx was a very powerful goddess who bore 20 children. Based on what he reads and what he observes, the protagonist ventures diagnoses. It could be loneliness, abandonment, or some event that hurt her children and she is affected by it. It is a difficult job to try to cure a god. At that moment, he had an idea. Since Nyx feels such a longing for her children that she sees them everywhere, it would be interesting to impersonate one of them so that the goddess will let her guard down. By embracing her, Chie introduces himself as one of her children, and she identifies him as Thanatos. That gives him a percentage of recovery and allows him to randomly obtain one of Nyx's powers as a reward for his work. Nyx gives him the Starry Night Dancer, and upon assimilating it, he feels the change in his body, an increase in his strength, and the awakening of several useful abilities. With this, he can now protect his family. The goddess scolds him for not having greeted his brother, and when Chie offers to give him a hug, she hands him a vial of medicine for the gods, which gives him an idea and offers to return soon. In one room, he finds several shelves full of vials. The next morning, Lin Chie wakes up very rested and relaxed. When he goes downstairs for breakfast, he finds his aunt at the exit door, and she explains that she has to get to work so he can have breakfast with his brother. Chie observes his aunt, and when the sunlight hits his face, he realizes that he can see. He joyfully tells his aunt, who, with tears streaming down her face, congratulates him on his recovery. When he arrives at school, everything is a commotion. His healing leaves all his classmates impressed. He explains to them that it was a progressive process that was nearing completion, and the day before, when he went to the hospital, he was given the go ahead. At the first break, Liu Yuan and Li Yifei apologized to the protagonist for the previous day's shameful behavior. Out of fear, they abandoned Jiang Qian and the protagonist to their fate. Chai explains to him that there is no need to apologize. What they did was what their instinct told them to do, and if it were him, maybe he would have run even faster. Yuan asks him if he is acting this way because of the confidentiality agreement that the agents made him sign. When he saw them, he was scared to death. Yifei expresses her desire to join them, and the protagonist explains to her that it would be pointless as she might disappear on the first secret mission, and her family would never find out. That evening at home, he finds Zhao sitting at the table, who has discovered his location through the tracker on the badge in his pocket. Chie repeats that he has no intention of joining the vigilantes, but Zhao explains that he is at home for another reason. Taking a cigarette, he asks him if he can use it, and with an authoritative voice, he forbids him to do so. Calmly, Zhao tells him his life story, how he was orphaned at a very young age and his mother had to take care of everything. She had to sacrifice a lot and work two jobs to raise him, all to get ahead. With his qualifications, he would have been the next chief of the village, but instead, he decided to join the army. On the day of his departure, his mother stood at the door, crying until he was lost in the distance. He could have returned with her, but his goal was to rise in the military ranks and return with the highest honors. But life did not make it easy for him. As he advanced, he showed more professionalism, and his superiors found that useful, so he was transferred to the Special Forces and then to the Night Watchman, with more responsibilities each time, making it impossible for him to dream of retiring and going back to his hometown. Instead, Chi was smarter and preferred to stay with his family, so he congratulated him on that and hopes everything goes well for him. She then tries to offer him money to help him, but he refuses to accept it. Since, now that his eyes are healed, he will be able to see to the welfare of his family personally. With nothing more to add, Zhao says goodbye and leaves the place. At a nearby shop, he is having a hot drink when he is alerted to an emergency. The king of the ghost masks has appeared, and his trail indicates that he is heading towards the center of the city, towards where he is. Hong Ying is commanding a support group to help him evacuate people in the old city area. The problem is that the number of people is too large to evacuate them all, so the appearance of the king of masks would be a disaster. Zhao heads to the site and is ordered by his superiors not to confront the king of masks by himself. He must wait for the main force, but if he decides to wait, it may be too late for the people of the old city. The thing to do is to evacuate them quickly. Following the trail, he arrives at the building where the main character lives, and a smell of corpse announces the approach of trouble. Taking the amulet signals, he prepares a containment field around the point where the demon could appear while he notifies the superiority of the situation. The command informs him that his reinforcements could arrive in 10 minutes and he must wait for them. His only mission is to contain the demon, not to confront it. Zhao explains to them that the holding area cannot imprison the king of the ghost masks if there is no one inside to contain him. By the time the demon appears, the camp is ready and Zhao's determination is firm, as behind him is everything Chie loves. At his apartment, the protagonist dines with his family, though his perception tells him that something is going on nearby. When he looks out on the balcony, what he sees surprises him, and he runs out of the house. In the street, Zhao takes a break from the fight and takes a smoke calmly. The fight has been very hard, taking him to the limit of his endurance. This demon is well above his level and does not seem to be tired of the fight. However, giving up is not an option. With this thought in mind, he goes on the attack again, but it is too powerful for him. The demon at that moment activates his Forbidden Rune sequence 176, with which he can trick all opponents below his level. Zhao finds himself in trouble, and it seems that space has changed direction and sense. Regaining his composure, Zhao concentrates to eliminate external distractions and tries to identify the monster's attack vector. With effort, he manages to block it and prepares to counterattack. Thanks to the falling rain, Zhao manages to determine where the real demon is by the splashing of the drops. With a leap, he manages to hit the demon in the shoulder, but his sword gets entangled with the monster's exoskeleton, and with one blow, he sends it against the wall. On the floor, Zhao remembers the moment he received his Night Watcher symbol where his ultimate resource is located. It is the summoner of ghosts and gods with which you can obtain a great amount of power, but you can only use it when you are about to lose your life. It is a weapon to be used when extremely necessary. Taking his badge, he prepares to administer it when, from outside the containment barrier, a voice calls out to him insistently. Lin Qiye asks him to allow him to enter the containment field. Zhao complains to him for abandoning his family dinner, and the protagonist explains that he came to help him fight the Ghost Mask King. But Zhao explains that this is not just any demon. He is the king, and he is far beyond his capabilities, so he should go to dinner while he takes care of the monster. Lin Qiye insistently tries to enter the field while Zhao Kongcheng continues his fight against the demon and explains that the only way he can enter is when he falls. Helplessly, Qiye is left standing in the rain. No longer listening to him, Zhao thinks he retreated to his apartment and, taking his Night Watchman badge, injects himself in the neck and awakens his spiritual power by activating his Forbidden Ruin and preparing his Obliteration of the Moon. Wielding his sword, Zhao lunges at the King of Phantom Masks and manages to maim him with ease. Without a foot, the demon falls to the ground and strikes back, imprisoning Zhao, who quickly frees himself. The demon is shocked and Zhao senses the end is coming soon. His time is running out. The vigilante goes on the attack as the King of Phantom Masks confronts him. With his Obliteration of the Moon, Zhao slashes at the demon, who defends himself relentlessly, sending him backwards with one blow. But the damage is already done, and his arm falls to pieces. With a great effort, the vigilante stands up and prepares for a new assault when the insulating barrier breaks into pieces. Zhao is surprised to see the protagonist, and upon his question, he explains that he stared at the barrier and fell. With the night, the Starry Night Dancer was activated, and that allowed to use Mikhail's divine power to break the uncommanded space in exchange for spending some spiritual energy. Lin Xie offers to take care of the situation, but Zhao stops him. This is his fight, and no one is going to intervene. Xie can see how the vigilante's whole body is badly wounded internally. Zhao explains to him that he only needs one punch and announces that he is about to see a move that will surprise him. He then launches himself at the demon, which tries to defend itself, and, using his Forbidden Ruin, Obliteration of the Moon, decapitates the monster easily and then falls down in surrender. Qiye takes it in his arms while Zhao bids farewell to everyone with his badge in his hand and the oath of the vigilantes on his lips. Carefully, Zhao lights a cigarette and takes a long, intense drag as he celebrates how good the battle with the Ghost Mask King was. No one was able to take him out before, and only he has been able to pull it off. That should give him enough merit to make it to general. Qiye nods to everything he has said and predicts him a successful future. Kongcheng asks him if he liked his last attack, and, with tears in his eyes, Qiye assures him that it was the coolest move he has seen so far. Satisfied, Zhao exhales his last breath, as Qiye explains to the watchman that his greatest fear is not perishing, since on several occasions he has been on the verge of death and has only been saved by the affection his family has shown him. No, his fear is having to owe someone, and now it turns out that Zhao has given everything for him, generating a debt that will be impossible to repay. While the protagonist pays homage to the vigilante, the demon has risen from the wreckage with a new and more terrifying appearance. Taking Zhao's sword, Qiye prepares to confront the King of Phantom Masks. Using his Starry Night Dancer, the protagonist attacks him without doing much damage until he decides to attack his main body. In a sequence of blows, he impacts on the ghost face without stopping seeking to eliminate him. A great release of energy indicates that the demon is on its last legs and is breathing its last breath. Lin Qiye has triumphed and takes the sword from the remains of the Ghost Mask King. Zhao's battle with the demon weakened him enough for the protagonist to stand a chance against him. With reverence, Qiye lifts the body of the vigilante while explaining the north of his life. He tells him that, in this life, there are only two people he owes everything to, his aunt and his cousin. But now, with Zhao's sacrifice to protect his family, he has incurred a debt, and the only way he can think of to repay him is to dedicate the next 10 years to protecting what Zhao Kongcheng held closest to his heart, the world around them. The reinforcement team arrives at that instant to meet with doom, as Lin Qiye testifies to General Zhao Kongcheng's courage and dedication. At home, his aunt wonders how much Qiye will do on the street that he is late in returning. But his cousin reassures her and reminds her that the protagonist is already a grown up young man and will have personal matters to attend to. The next day, Lin Chie is interviewed at the Night Watchman headquarters. The members of the Night Watchman Team 126 meet with Lin Chie to try to find out what happened in the last battle of Jiao Kongcheng. For the umpteenth time, the protagonist explains to them that Zhao activated the No Commandment space and fought the Ghost Mask King without anyone's assistance until they both fell lifeless. Wu Xiangnan, co-leader of Team 126, takes the opportunity to ask him how he got through the barrier, and the protagonist explains that just by looking at it, he knocked it down and was able to get through. The members of 126 ask him to explain in more detail how Zhao defeated the demon. Qi explains that he used a special move with which he created a silver-white crescent moon figure and decapitated the King of Phantom Masks with a single swing of his sword. Everyone is shocked to hear it, as they have recognized the obliteration of the moon. So Zhao used the Summoner of Ghosts and Gods to activate his Forbidden Ruin, which turned out to be a high-level Forbidden Ruin. Everyone is saddened to imagine how happy he would have been to know that his ruin was high-level. Changing the subject, they proceed to introduce themselves to the protagonist. Team 126 is composed of Wu Xiangnan, co-leader of the group, Captain Chen Muye, assault attacker Hong Ying, Wen Qimo of the support wing, Si Xiaonan military surgeon, and sniper Leng Xuan. Xiangnan continues his investigation but is interrupted by the captain, who wants to know what Chie's motivation for joining the Night Watchman is. The protagonist explains to him that it is in repayment of the debt acquired with Zhao Kongcheng for having protected his family that he promised him to serve in the Night Watchman for 10 years, after which he would resign from the squadron. Xiangnan doesn't think that resigning is possible, and joining the Night Watchman is not a matter of desire. You have to have what it takes. Chie reaffirms his position and explains to him that it is a personal matter if he wishes to quit when the offered 10 years of service have elapsed. The captain is pleased with Chie's response and decides to send his application for admission immediately, but not before informing him that he must attend boot camp for 1 year, where he will be taught combat, use of weapons, special tactics, forbidden ruins, among other things. For the time being, he is a temporary teammate and as such is not entitled to room and board. Lin Chie stays on site, asking them where he is going to live all that time. And Hong Ying steps forward and offers him his spacious house as living quarters, to which the protagonist agrees and is very grateful. Wen Qimo reprimands Ying for wasting his time and takes Chie for a tour. Once in the hallway, Qimo asks Chie to allow him to live with them in Ying's house, but seeing the young man's bewilderment, he explains that it was just a joke and is at his disposal for whatever he needs. As they walk, the protagonist asks him why there are so few of them. Chimo explains that the Night Watchers are not like the other divisions of the army, in which, due to their large numbers, there is an excess of bureaucracy that reduces their efficiency in combat against mythical creatures. Not so among the Night Watchers, where, due to their small numbers, they can go into action quickly upon detecting any of the creatures. There are teams stationed in several cities, and each one has specialists in a specific area that, when coordinated, complement each other and increase their efficiency when facing an emergency. However, if the situation exceeds the competence of the Night Watch squads, then 5 humans with a level of strength above the normal level come into action: the One, the Master, the Rider, the Void, and the Honorable. The next day, Chie finds himself in the residential area looking for an address. Upon arrival, she is surprised to see the size and quality of Hong Ying's lodging. Arriving at the threshold, the young woman quickly descends the stairs and invites him in. Once inside, at the top of the stairs, Si Xiaonan appears, who is also staying at Ying's residence. When he asks, the young woman explains to the protagonist that Xiaonan doesn't feel comfortable sleeping in the barracks dormitories, so she offered her house to him as well. Lin Chie asks her if she won't be a bother to her parents, but she explains that her parents were 2 investigators who joined the investigation team and disappeared into the fog 5 years ago. She then drags him to what will be his room, where she shows him all the amenities and warns him that if he tries to make a pass at any of the girls, he will get the beating of his life. The protagonist makes it clear to her that he has no such intentions. For the moment, he just wants to know if he can have some paper and a pen. At home, Two members of the squadron show up with his aunt and inform her that they have come on behalf of the military bureau as they are in charge of the new recruits. Wang Fang is surprised to hear them. Aunt Wang invites them in, and they show her the letter of enlistment in which Chie applies to formally join the army. She is surprised, as she had no idea what had happened. But her cousin explains that Chie had once told her that if he had not lost his eyesight, he would have joined the army immediately. The aunt continues to be inconsolable and very worried about what might happen to Chie, but they explain that the army has given him the most thorough eye exams and can assure her that the young man will never have problems with his eyes again. Then the captain presents her with an envelope with a large amount of money inside and explains that it is the allowance the army gives Lin Chie for joining their ranks. The aunt is surprised, and Chemo explains that it is part of the special welfare improvements for soldiers implemented by the army. Fang is startled to hear this and asks if her nephew is in mortal danger, and he reassures her that everything will be fine. On the way out, they meet the protagonist to whom they tell him the result of their efforts, and he thanks them, although they warn him that it was his pay for a whole year. And now he will not have enough money to survive, but the protagonist minimizes the fact. The captain invites him to visit him when he is free, and perhaps they can have lunch together from time to time. Chie is surprised as there is no food or lodging for temporary members, and the captain clarifies that there is, except when he cooks. The protagonist is left wondering how good that offer will be. On the phone, he communicates with his aunt, and when she complains to him for leaving without warning, he apologizes for his behavior. That night in the dreamlike asylum, he approaches Nyx, who is playing on a swing. After greeting her, he hands her her medicine and sits down next to her with a thoughtful air. When Nyx asks him, he tells her that he is worried and the goddess offers to give him a bracelet that will help him. But when he lifts his arm, he does not find it and becomes worried. When Nyx asks her, he remembers that someone won the bracelet in a bet. The protagonist asks her the name of the god, and she clarifies that it was not a god, but a person. Chie is surprised to learn that someone else came to the asylum and took her bracelet from the goddess. He then asks Nyx what the other person was like, and she explains that she was a very beautiful girl with long black hair, about 13 years old, approximately, with a strange symbol on her wrist. The protagonist asks her what the competition they were having, and she explains that it was about creating objects. If she won, she would get her children back, and if she lost, she would have to give up her bracelet. The revelation leaves Chie thoughtful, and he asks for the girl's name, but he only remembers her last name, Ji. Back in the main office, he checks everywhere for any clues or information about it. He finds a note under the desk addressed to him. In the writing, a person apologizes to him for hijacking his asylum and for taking an object from his patient. When they meet again, he will return it to her. He also warns her that there is a hidden space under the office. Checking the carpet, he finds a trap door with a ladder behind it that leads him to a basement with several cells. Carefully, he goes through them until he gets something in one of them. In the last cell of the corridor, he finds none other than the king of the phantom masks, who, seeing him, tries to attack him. On the cell door, a plaque informs him that by eliminating a mystic creature, he has the power to decide the fate of his soul. The options would be to eliminate him definitively, or he could take his level of fear to 0 and hire him as a guardian of the asylum. In other words, the asylum not only serves as a hospital for mysterious patients, but acts as a prison for the souls of all the creatures it eliminates for their ultimate use or destruction. It would be interesting to see if it works on the gods as well. In the present, the demon prostrates on his knees in front of him, acknowledging his power. But Chie has already decided his fate and eliminates him for good. The next day, when he arrives at the barracks, he finds Ying and Chimo interviewing an old lady who says she has a problem for which she requests their help. The lady speaks of a strange situation where a mystical creature has changed her husband, and from being affectionate, he has become indifferent to her, so he must be having an affair with a scoundrel. Ying promises to investigate the situation, while Chimo accompanies her to the door. When the protagonist asks, the young woman explains that it's just a normal work day, and Chimo comments that it's not every day they have confrontations with mystical creatures, so to make the most of the time, they help citizens investigate minor incidents and take the opportunity to earn some money, which they really need, and hopefully they can find clues about the creatures. Changing the subject, Ying informs him that the captain wishes to see him in the training room. Immediately, Chie goes to the training room where the captain is in a meditation position. As soon as he sees him arrive, Captain Chen Muye hands him a sword and explains that his sword, cloak, and badge will be given to him when the training camp is over, so, for the time being, he can use a temporary one. When he checks it out, the protagonist notices that it is Zhao Kongcheng's sword. The captain explains to him that he is the person he chose. Muye informs him that there is still a month to go before he starts the training camp, so that he will receive private lessons so as not to cause pity among the other recruits. In the morning, he will receive fencing lessons with the captain. In the afternoon, he will learn about mystic ruins with Wen Qimo, and in the evening, Leng Xuan will teach him the basics of firearms. Standing up, the captain picks up two wooden swords while informing Chie that the training is about to begin. The protagonist warns him that he has a real sword in his hands, and the captain indicates that there is no problem, so he decides to attack with everything. However, all he does is take hits from the captain, and time again, he ends up on the ground. He spends the whole morning crashing into everything in the training room without managing to hit the captain. At the end of the morning, Chimo takes care of healing his blows while congratulating him for having withstood so long the onslaught of the captain who, despite being just a training, puts all his efforts in every attack he makes. No one has been able to stand up to him, only Hong Ying. Chie asks if Zhao could face the captain, and Chimo explains that they were very evenly matched in power. After the healing is over, Chimo prepares for his first Forbidden Ruins class and asks him how far his ability goes. The protagonist explains that he can perceive anything within a range of 20 meters around, and to prove it to him. When Hong Ying passes by, he reveals the color of his underwear, sealing a silent pact of brotherhood between them. As they walk, Chimo explains the types of Forbidden Ruins. The Forbidden Ruins sequence is a combination that allows them to be summoned, and the shorter they are, the more dangerous the Forbidden Ruin will be. Sequences higher than 600 are considered harmless Forbidden Ruins. Sequences between 400 to 599 are called low-risk Forbidden Ruins. Sequences between 200 to 399 are dangerous Forbidden Ruins. They could be a risk to humanity and give the bearer the ability to fight against mystical creatures. The sequences from 90 to 199 are the high-risk Forbidden Ruins, and the sequences before 89 are the extremely dangerous Forbidden Runes, with a great capacity of destruction and a strange special ability. They have the power to destroy a city. In Zhao Kongcheng's case, he could awaken sequence 83 if he were alive. He would be general. The protagonist's Forbidden Ruin is sequence 003, the Sacred Death. It is Mikhail's sequence and is recorded as a high-risk Forbidden Ruin in the hands of a novice. That means that Chie's power is incomplete. He can only sense and predict the environment, but he cannot use Mikhail's full power. The training below will allow him to identify his own ability and merge it with his body. In a training room are distributed 39,000 air guns that shoot in unison 39,000 rubber bullets per second. Your mission is to dodge all the bullets using your perception. Chimo activates the system and leaves the room wishing him good luck, and Lin Chie's suffering begins. In the evening at the exit of the school, the students head to their residences. Li Yifei comes last as her classmates mock her for her slowness. Suddenly, Yifei realizes that she has left her house keys in the living room and says goodbye to the others to go back for them. Arriving at the school, Yifei has to encourage herself to go back inside the empty building. There are rumors in the area of a killer on the loose, and she doesn't feel like wandering the lonely corridors of the school at all. In the classroom, he approaches his desk where he finds his keys, which he takes, but before he can return, noises in the hallway alert him to the presence of another person in the area. Carefully, he manages to peek through the door, and in the hallway, he finds the headmaster and the language teacher on their way to the classroom. Quickly, Yifei hides under the main desk while the teacher manages to drag the headmaster using her charms into the classroom. Once inside, Yifei can hear in shock as the teacher makes a blatant pass at the headmaster, and when he asks her about her intentions, Yifei can see her transform into a giant snake as she confesses to him that all she wants to do is devour him and bites his head off. Yifei tries not to scream under the desk as the monster engulfs the director. Meanwhile, at the vigilante barracks, Chie has his first class on firearms. They teach him the basics of the weapons and how they are structured and then proceed to assemble them. With stopwatch in hand, Leng Xuan proceeds to measure the time that the protagonist invests in assembling an automatic pistol from scratch. With precision and agility, Chie uses his perception and memory to assemble the gun, and when he has it ready, he shoots at a target in the distance, thus culminating the activity. Everything was acceptable except for the fact that he missed the target, so he must keep practicing to improve. This activity culminates his training day after having been beaten up pretty badly by the captain in the morning, plus the blows of the rubber bullets in the afternoon. Although the long-range support class was not so bad. From a room you are called, and upon entering you are met with an invitation to dinner with the team. Everyone is at the table, and while Xiangnan and Ying fight over the food, the captain welcomes the protagonist and offers to cook him something else if the menu is not to his liking. The argument between Ying and Xiangnan gets a little heated, and Leng Xuan decides to end it with a gun until the captain reprimands him for this attitude. Already in bed, Lin Chie gets ready to sleep, while reviewing the events of the day and the advice with the sword that the captain gave him, and decides to practice for a while before going to sleep. The next morning, very early at dawn, Lin Chie is on his way to the headquarters with fatigue in his body from a night of training. Upon arrival, Ying alerts him that there is an emergency with what appears to be a mythical creature that appeared at Kangnan's second high school. When they arrive at the captain's office, the protagonist is surprised to find his classmate, Li Yifei. Recognizing the voice, Yifei turns and asks Chie about the reason for his presence here, and he explains that he has become a temporary member of the Night Watchman. Yifei is surprised to hear this, as she didn't think she would find him in that place. Captain Chen asks them to go back to the previous conversation, and Yifei continues to explain what happened the day before. After recovering her key and hiding, the professor ate the director. But he did not stay there, then spit out a kind of huge egg, and from inside emerged an exact replica of the director, while the professor recovered his human form, and, taking him by the arm, they left the place. He then remained hidden until the first light of day appeared, and fled to the night watchman's quarters to inform them of the situation. Xiangnan congratulates Yifei for his bravery and for his good decision to inform them of the situation. This may be a mythical creature that has the ability to camouflage itself and assimilate its environment, and has most likely caused a contagious infection inside Kangnan Second High School. The captain explains to them that, of all the abilities of lower-level mythic creatures, assimilation is among the most difficult to combat. If not detected in time, or if vigilance is neglected, the number of infected can grow exponentially without stopping. Camouflage, Xiangnan explains, is an even more dangerous ability, as it requires a creature that is on the level of humans. The impersonation is so perfect because the creature can read the memories of its victims and know all their secrets and ways of being, that it can go unnoticed by humans. This poses a catastrophic scenario. Ying asks him what he means by that, and Chie replies that he is talking about a situation where the whole high school has been infected, and the evil could be spreading beyond its boundaries into the city. Xiangnan asks Yifei if it hasn't occurred to him that he might be a part of the monster without realizing it. Chimo asks him to stop exaggerating. The infection can't be that big. Otherwise, the Raven of Disaster would have launched its alert by now, while Yifei is traumatized by the possibility of being a monster. Chia asks what the Disaster Crow is, and Ying explains that it is a forbidden object that warns with its cries when great disasters occur in Kongnan City. Taking the floor, Captain Chung asks Xiangnan about his plan of action. He explains that this mission has two objectives. On the one hand, the infected must be identified, and on the other hand, the main body of the mythical creature must be found. So it is best to divide the group into two teams. One will evaluate the social connections of the victims to locate other infected individuals, and the other will infiltrate the high school to gather clues and find the body of the creature as soon as possible. Outside the high school, Ying and Xiaonan dress up in the school uniforms, while Zhuan hands the protagonist a firearm as a preventive measure of protection. Once ready, the girls jump the back fence of the institution to go to the principal's office, while Lin Chie goes to the main gate and, using his perception, he evaluates all his surroundings where he walks while he goes to his classroom. Everywhere Chie passes, he finds infected people in every classroom. On the second floor, he finds six. If these creatures start attacking the other students, it will be a massacre. The captain orders Chie to continue with the established plan and not alert the enemy of his intentions. Chie agrees as he prepares to enter his classroom. Upon entering the classroom, the teacher complains about his absence, and Chie explains that he had to be absent for an eye examination and was hospitalized for several days. The teacher swallows the story and orders him to take a seat to continue with the class. In his transit between the desks, he finds Li Yifei seated, appearing serene, who is asked to join the protagonist's mission since his wish is to become a night watchman someday. The captain agrees to let him participate and offers to give him a chance if all goes well. In the classroom, Chie is closely observed by his female classmates. At the end of class, Yifei approaches him for instructions, and the protagonist instructs him to make his move during the flag salute when the whole school is gathered in one place. In the principal's office, a strange cocoon attracts the attention of nearby animals as Ying and Xiaonan prepare to break in. While Xiaonan keeps watch, Ying forces the lock and manages to open it quickly. Upon entering, they get the empty space and a cup of tea still hot, as if she was recently absent. The two young women are looking for clues when a strange smell catches their attention. Searching for the source, they find that it is coming from under the floor, and when they lift it up, they find a mask made of human skin. While on their way to the flag-raising ceremony, Yifei and Chie act as protocol personnel. The protagonist takes the opportunity to check on the students using his perception. Yifei asks him about the infected in his classroom, and Chie announces that there are only two, Liu Xiaoyan and Han Ruoruo. In the crowd passing in front of them, he can detect several infected among the students. Most of them are girls, so the infection could have started in their dormitories. He quickly communicates this conclusion to Ying, and the girls head towards the dormitory to check the place. At the flag podium, Chie approaches the student, holding the flag in his hands, and indicates that, per the professor's orders, the flag speech will be made by the lead, and if he has any questions, he can speak to the professor when the ceremony is over. Introducing himself to the students, Chie takes the opportunity to check the entire school to find that the number of infected is higher than estimated. Suddenly, the protagonist begins to flee, taking the flag with him to everyone's surprise. On his run, he communicates with the captain and explains the situation. The school has been compromised with the infection, and it is not going to be possible to solve it discreetly. In addition, care must be taken that no one escapes to the city. The captain reassures him that this is no longer a concern since Liu Xiaoyan's family and the headmaster's family were completely infected. All this conversation while the captain is confronted with the beast that took the director's place, which seeks to eliminate him once and for all. Quickly, the captain decapitates the monster and skewers its head on the wall to inform Chia that the two infected areas have been cleaned. In view of the seriousness of the situation, the external team will continue to investigate those related to the infected to prevent the spread of the infection while the school is left in the hands of the protagonist and his team. This enemy is surprising, so you have to be careful and not hold back. Secrecy is no longer necessary. The mission: find the main body and eliminate it. Len Xuan will put the entire school in uncommanded space, isolating it from the rest of the city so they can fight without restraint. When he cuts off the communication, the captain warns Jiangnan that we must continue, and Xiangnan expresses his concern as to whether this will be a mission for a rookie. And the captain reassures him by stating that yes, the protagonist is a rookie, but he has qualities that will quickly make him stand out from the crowd. In the girls' dormitory, Chie has arrived late and warns the girls that the students are heading in their direction. Ying is trying to pick a lock and asks him if the group is too large, and he replies yes, and there could be infected among them. As they cross a corner, they meet two of the infected who ask Ying and Xiaonan what they are doing there. Ying tries to make up a story about a student she is looking for, but the girls don't believe her, so they decide to leave the place. As they head for the exit, Ying and Xiaonan are intercepted by one student each who starts praising them. The girls all get nervous, not knowing what to do, and it is the moment when the students change into their beast form and try to attack them to gobble them up. Faced with the imminent danger, Ying is pleased at the loss of discretion and opens her briefcase from which she takes out her spear and, quickly assembling it, prepares to face the beasts. With a reverse flick of the wrist, she finishes off the one on her and incinerates it to ashes. He then turns to where Xiaonan is having difficulty facing two beasts at once, and, with a flick of his spear, finishes them off with the help of his fire ability. At the entrance of the hallway, a new infected appears and Ying urges her to fight, despite how weak she may be. However, more young infected girls begin to congregate in the corridors, threatening to put the Watchers in a compromising situation. Seeing themselves surrounded, Ying begins to think that it might be harder to take them down than she thought, perhaps. When the beasts go on the attack, Ying is already prepared to meet them. In another wing of the school, Lin Yuan is in the boys' restroom, preparing to make his move on Roro. When he arrives in the room, he offers Roro a bottle of milk, and she gratefully accepts it. Yuan offers to wait on her in the future and fulfill her every wish. Very insinuatingly, Ruoro approaches Lin Yuan and asks to see her privately later after school. Abruptly, Lin Xie gets up from his seat and, without paying attention to his companion's claims, expresses his feelings to the young Han Ruoruo. Everyone around is completely shocked by the revelation. Standing up in front of all his classmates, Chie expresses his feelings to Han Ruoruo, which he has carried inside for a long time, and asks her if she wants to be his girlfriend. The news causes a commotion, and all the classmates ask Ruoruo to accept immediately while Lin Yuan cannot believe what is happening before her eyes. All blushing Han accepts the protagonist's proposal, and he invites her to meet him after school in the school garage. In the hallway, Yifei asks Chie why he wants to save someone who has been so cruel to him, and the protagonist reminds her that he now has responsibilities as night watchman, but if he continues to seek his bad luck, it will no longer be his fault. They then head to the girls' dormitory where Hong Ying is in trouble. Around the dormitory, everyone present is shocked by the explosion inside. Security isolates the area and prevents onlookers from entering. Everyone tries to make a phone call, but Len Xuan blocks all incoming and outgoing transmissions. He then tries to use the amulets used by Captain Zhao to activate the commandmentless space, but something is not working and the signal changes color and lights up the sky in a green color that shocks everyone in the high school. At the entrance to the girls' dormitory, Chia asks Yifei to put together a diversion that will allow him to enter, but Yifei doesn't know what to do, and the protagonist demands that he give his all if he plans to take on the commitment of becoming a night watchman. So, go ahead. Behind everyone's back, Yifei starts shouting to get the group's attention. When they all turn around, he goes to one of the girls and asks her, in front of everyone, to be his girlfriend. While everyone attends to poor Wu Sujie, who is lying on the floor senseless, Chie opens the lock on the front door and enters the girls' building. Inside, Ying continues to confront the infected girls, while Xiaonan explains to him that the commandmentless space has failed. He then makes the decision to eliminate all the girls to prevent their escape and summons the forbidden ruin, burning hillocks, and a barrier of fire surrounds it. With one move, Ying incinerates all the remaining infected girls, freeing the corridor. A voice calls out to them for not obeying the evacuation order, and they inform her that they are helping with the fire. Playing down the matter, the young woman grabs Xiaonan by the wrist and drags her down the stairs. Ying chases them as they run down the stairs when the sound of a gunshot startles them and a projectile hits the young stranger in the chest. Immediately, the young woman transforms into a beast that attacks Xiaonan, who defends himself with his sword. Quickly, Qi climbs the stairs and shoots point blank at the monster, who fights back furiously until its head is blown off. As he helps Xiaonan up, he explains to Ying that he has come to help them with the infected girls. Ying clarifies that he is done with all of them, and the protagonist asks her if he eliminated the main body, and she doesn't know what to answer. Chia wonders if all these girls are not a distraction from the main body in order to escape, and Ying doubts that she is so smart. The main body explains to her that in order to blend in with humans, the beast must possess a level of intelligence on par with the humans around it. So much so that it chose to first infect the girls to serve as bait for the boys, so that it could continue to spread surreptitiously. If not for Yifei, it might have been discovered when it was already too late. A few floors up, a shadow is observed, and upon detailing it, they realize that it is a mythical beast and set off in pursuit. The beast manages to reach the rooftop of the building, pursued by Chia, Ying, and Xiaonan, who cannot believe its speed. Standing on the edge of the rooftop, the beast lets out a shriek that spreads through the area, and all the infected within reach become frantic, transform, and start attacking everyone around them. Chie tries to shoot the beast, but it is faster and jumps off the building. Ying tasks the protagonist with protecting the students while she rushes after the beast. The stampede of students is general, but they all crash into the barrier that prevents them from leaving. Chie tries to get their attention, but panic prevents them from thinking. If this keeps up, they will all surely perish, and there is already one infected among them. A memory breaks through his mind, Len Shuan's advice, and he fires a few shots into the air. Hearing the gunshots, everyone is startled and turns their attention to the protagonist. They all seek his protection, but he has noticed the infected and, drawing his sword, cuts him down to the shocked looks of all the students. Chie orders them to be quiet and shows them that the person they thought was innocent is in fact an infected. Once order is restored, he orders them to get organized and prepare to leave the no storage space. The infected return to the building, and Chi asks Len Xuan to close the barrier when all the clean students have left. At the same time, on the fifth floor, Yifei has set up a barricade together with other students to prevent the infected from entering the classroom. In the meantime, they are busy taking care of the injured students. Yifei summons everyone who can fight to go and rescue a group of students trapped on the third floor. With cloth, they improvise a ladder through the window, and with improvised weapons, they prepare to get out. The students don't want to go out if there is danger, and Yifei explains that danger will always exist. But as long as there are people willing to stand up for themselves, they can overcome it. Hanging a makeshift rope out the window, Yifei goes outside and slips into a third-floor window where she enters the empty classroom. He then peeks out and invites the rest to follow him. Carefully, he peeks into the hallway as the rest enter through the window. Outside, a beast stands in front of a door that it cannot open. Yifei warns the rest that the beast must be taken down to continue the search. As the beast hits the locked door, Yifei attacks it from behind and manages to land the first blow while the rest take the opportunity to hit the monster as it falls to the ground. When they finish with him, Yifei knocks on the door to warn the students that the way is clear and it is time to evacuate the place. From inside, a student peeks out and asks what the escape route is, and Yifei explains that the fifth floor is safe and there are more people barricaded inside. And Xingyu explains that the monsters are on the fourth and second floor, so there is no way through. Yifei clarifies that they can use the same ladders they use to get to the third floor. Unconvinced, Qingyu clears the barricade a bit and shows her that there are many people inside the room, and it is unlikely that they can climb up a makeshift rope. Yifei is shocked by the news. Qingyu thanks them for their effort, but their escape plan is unlikely to come to fruition. Internally, Qingyu is not too convinced either. This could all be a trap. Yifei's companions try to convince him to retreat if those inside the room do not wish to flee, but it is too late, as a monster has reached the third floor and found them. They are all frightened, and Yifei tries to instill courage in them, but one of them chickens out and, while trying to flee, is chased by the monster inside the hall. At the window is the makeshift rope, but as he tries to climb up, the beast jumps on him, crashing through the window, and, breaking the rope, they both crash to the sidewalk. The noise of the beast and the broken glass alerts the rest of the monsters. The window is no longer an option, and down the corridor, groups of beasts approach. The situation is dangerous. They all turn to Li Yifei looking for a solution, and he finds no way out when suddenly a voice calls them. It is Qing Yu, who has raised the barricade and opened the door of the hall and invites them to enter quickly. When they all enter, they manage to close the door at the last moment. All the monsters rush after them, and while some block the door, the rest try to re-establish the barricade. The monsters hit the door hard and manage to break the windows while the students move and roll tables and chairs to block the entrance. All the monsters on the floor throw themselves against the door as the defenders prepare to hit them with everything. Suddenly, the beast that seems to be leading the group appears, and as the students defend themselves and try to calm each other down, he manages to reach the entrance and with one blow, smashes the door, taking several of his minions with him. The end seems to be near when, in the corridor, Chie appears, sword in hand, calmly approaching, counting the number of assailants present and identifying the leader of the group. Drawing his sword, Chie catches their attention and invites them to have some fun with him. Immediately, the beasts rush at him, and he calmly takes them out using the latest combat techniques he has learned. While everyone is inside the room, waiting in anticipation, the protagonist eliminates all the monsters until only the boss remains, and Chie tries to hurt him, but his skin is too tough. He then attacks him in the tendons of his legs, managing to knock him down and finishes him off with the swing of his sword. Inside the hall, everyone is gratefully wondering who their savior is. Yifei comes out to meet the protagonist while thanking him for his timely appearance. Yifei hangs on the protagonist while thanking him for saving him from the monsters. With great work, Chie manages to shake him off while the students are leaving the room wondering who the strangers are and what has happened. Seeing a student very interested in the beasts, Yifei asks his name and learns that it is An Qingyu, the number one student in the entire school district who shows a scientific interest in everything he sees around him. He introduces himself very effusively to the protagonist. Aside, Chie asks Yifei about Rorwo and Xiaoyan, and he explains that after the boss beasts scream, they kept their human appearance and tried to escape during the evacuation, but they were identified and isolated and are now in a classroom under supervision. Chie congratulates him, and Yifei asks him if he now has any chance of joining the Night Watchman, and the protagonist assures him that he might. He then takes the lead of the group and leads them to the main hall where they will be safer. Chia tries to contact Hong Ying to find out her situation, and she informs him that she has lost her target, who, after an arduous chase, hid in the school's forest. This presents a problem since, if the original body is alive, it will do no good to eliminate the infected. Ying informs him that Xiao Nan is following the monster's trail, so it is only a matter of time before he is found again. Besides, as long as the space without commandment is active, it will be impossible for him to escape. On another note, the captain has managed to discover the origin of the monster. It is a mythological demon called Nanta Snake Demon, which, according to mythological records, has a great capacity for camouflage and high intelligence. It is dedicated to infiltrate societies to devour its members and implant a serpent seed in their bodies to control all their actions. In the end, it will replace all the members of the society with its descendants. The advantage is that he can only generate one snake seed per day. As he continues his talk, Chie is walking aimlessly when a voice behind him catches his attention. Turning around, he meets An Qingyu, who has a question to ask. With curiosity, Qingyu asks him if these monsters have always existed in the shadows of society, and Qi answers yes. Then, Qingyu asks, how is it that they have been able to thrive in societies through time? The protagonist explains that there is someone who watches at night and makes sure that the existence of monsters does not affect society. Qi observes the student, puzzled, and asks him if what he hears does not frighten him, and An Qingyu asks him why he should be afraid. Qingyu explains to him that he has an interest in these creatures, and after finishing his master's degree, he intends to obtain a PhD in which he plans to specialize in biological research on genetic inheritance and mutation, as well as in clinical medicine, and analyzing samples obtained from the monsters would be very useful for him. Chie prefers not to listen any longer and turns his back on him, as he must head to the 5th floor when he is stopped by Yifei and her group who come to accompany him in his work to save the students. The protagonist considers the proposal, as he has spent a lot of spiritual energy, and a little help would not hurt. He definitely accepts, and An Qingyu, who does not wish to be left behind, offers to accompany the group. Everyone is surprised, but he explains that he can help them strategize and analyze the behavioral patterns of the beasts. Yifei whispers to Chie that a little extra intelligence wouldn't go amiss, and the protagonist agrees on the condition that he must take care of himself. On the 5th floor, Liu Yuan hears a voice calling him insistently. Han Ruoruo is taking advantage of the influence he has over Yuan and is asking him to help her escape from the confinement where she has been confined. With an expression of fear, Ruoruo asks for help, and Yuan does his best to open the lock of the door until he succeeds. Once free, Yuan asks the young woman to be his bride, and she accepts, but when she goes to attack him, she feels the suffering that Chie and his group caused to the other beasts, and asks him to help her to get out of the confinement in which they find themselves. While they dismantle the barricade, they are discovered by the rest of the group who claim Yuan for having freed Ruoruo. Yuan defends himself, and everyone is at a loss as to what to do, especially since Yifei has been gone for a long time when a sound of footsteps announces the approaching danger. With the barricade weakened, the beasts manage to break through easily and pounce on the unsuspecting students who run for the safety of the classroom as the beasts chase them closely. At full speed, unnoticed by anyone, Chi appears and, jumping on its back, eliminates the beast and its body falls on the unsuspecting student it was chasing. From beneath the corpse, The student asks to pray for him, and the protagonist clarifies that he is not dead. Yifei informs him that all the monsters in the building have been eliminated, and everything is now safe for evacuation. Sheathing his sword, the protagonist meets Roro and Yuan, who tries to defend the young girl from Xie's malicious intentions. Seeing him so determined, the protagonist allows him to leave the place, which surprises the couple and assures them that he will not harm them. All the survivors on the fifth floor, after being searched, are taken to the main hall to be reunited with the rest. In an aside, Qingyu whispers to Chie that he has discovered something significant, but since he can't make a safe prediction, he's going to need the weapon the protagonist has in storage. Chie explains to him that he only has 3 bullets left and asks him if he knows how to use it, and Qingyu assures him that he has the knowledge for it. Convinced of this fact, Chie leaves to go in search of the main body. In the lobby of the building, while Yifei recounts all of Chie's adventures and vicissitudes, the protagonist communicates with Leng Xuan, who has been following Roro and Yuan's footsteps since they left the building, to learn the location of the young men. They are apparently heading towards a building on the north side of the institution. With this information, Chie communicates with Ying as he heads to the musical arts building and comments that he may have found the location of the original core. Inside one of the halls of the musical arts building, Liu Yuan tries to understand why, instead of escaping, they hid in this place. Over a piano, Roruo seductively calls out to him as he explains that there is no need to run away if they can spend their time on other, more interesting activities. When Yuan approaches, Roro imprisons him with her legs and arms and asks him, while suddenly changing shape, if he does not wish to be devoured by her. Yuan's shriek is heard all the way to the hallway, where Chie waits for the main body to appear. As he approaches the hall to listen, the door is suddenly kicked down, and Liu Yuan, transformed into a beast, goes on the attack but is quickly taken out by the main body. Carefully, Chie approaches the hall and realizes that the beast is on the lintel of the door waiting for his entrance to jump on him. Cautiously, the protagonist requests a conversation with the beast, and it, falling off the wall, explains to him that it has nothing to say to a night watchman. However, it returns to its human form, as the protagonist had requested. Chie asks the beast why it has to expose itself to everyone by infecting humans in such an outrageous way, if, with its camouflage abilities and high intelligence, it can blend into society and go unnoticed, enjoying the wonders of the world. The snake explains that this is her nature, and Chie asks if, with all her intelligence, she cannot suppress her basic instinct. The snake mischievously compliments him on his curiosity and proposes a detective game. The snake explains to him that, inside the quarantined school, there are currently 3 night watchmen: Hong Ying from the Qi Kingdom, Xiaonan, who accompanies her, and the protagonist, who has the ability to see through their disguises. Someone from the Qi realm cannot be implanted with snake seeds, and Xiaonan is accompanying Ying, so there is no chance at all. However, there is still the protagonist on whom it would be interesting to plant a snake seed to see if the vigilantes notice. As the protagonist realizes he has fallen into a trap, the snake reverts to its beastly form and launches an attack against Chie, who narrowly escapes. The serpent launches one attack after another, disproving the Watcher's version that it is an entity with very little attack capacity. On the outskirts of the building, Ying and Xiaonan hear the havoc generated. The Nanta snake demon attacks the protagonist, who tries to escape without success. With its tail, the beast tries to reach Chie, but he is quicker to dodge it and, with his last drops of spiritual energy, manages to return the attack and cuts off its tail with a single slash. The beast becomes enraged and launches a blow that hits Chie and sends him through a window. In midair, the protagonist sees his end come when the demon lunges through the window to attack him again. At that moment, Ying's fire spear appears and blocks the demon's attack. As he finishes falling, Chie ends up in a tree, which cushions his fall to the ground, while Ying catches his spear again. When asked, the protagonist replies that they should be more aware of the snake demon than him, and Ying explains that there is no problem. The Nanta snake demon is no big deal. Seeing Ying and suspecting his defeat, the Nanta snake demon decides to escape quickly. Chie informs Ying of the beast's location, and Ying, activating her fire abilities, attacks it with her spear to deliver the coup de grace. A big explosion makes them realize that the shot has hit the target, while the protagonist is surprised by the young woman's power. When they search the building, they find the remains of the beast. The mission over, Ying proposes to go celebrate and then rest, but the protagonist still thinks that there is something wrong with the whole thing. In the main hall, all the students wait with trepidation for the arrival of the protagonist with the news that everything is over. And Qing Yu seeks conversation with Yifei and asks her about Chie's mysterious organization, and he explains that it is the Night Watchman. And she can calm down. There is no problem with her knowing, since she will have her memory of the incident erased when she leaves. Qing Yu is surprised to know, and Yifei explains to him that it is about her safety and the rest, as it would be very dangerous for people to go around spreading that information everywhere. Then Qing Yu asks if it is about him too, and Yifei explains that no, since when they get out of there, he will be part of the Night Watchman. Interested, Qing Yu asks him if there are any benefits to joining them, and Yifei explains that the requirements to join are very demanding. Not just anyone can join. At that moment, Chie appears, and everyone turns to look at him as he explains that the whole emergency is over. The Nanta demon snake has been defeated for good. Everyone celebrates with excitement for having been saved, and Yifei approaches the protagonist to ask him if now there will be no problem to join the Night Watchman. After all, he actively contributed to the victory. The protagonist replies that it is likely at the same moment when Qingyu attacks him severely with Chie's weapon. Everyone is shocked, and Yifei asks Qingyu why he attacked him, checking his wounds. Yifei tries to understand what is going on and asks the protagonist if he has awakened an unknown ability, and she explains that he has not. He is still alive, as he is the Nanta demon snake, or a part of it. All upset, Yifei still doesn't understand what's going on, and grabbing him by the collar of his shirt, Jie, using his spiritual energy, penetrates his disguise, unmasking him in front of everyone. Taking him by the arm, the beast asks him how he discovered him, since his level is too low to penetrate his disguise. Jie acknowledges that fact, but a number of confusing little clues and illogical situations made him approach the situation from a different point of view. It took a whole controlled situation to allow him to act and thus make him the hero of the emergency. Although it must be recognized that the real responsible for his fall is An Qing Yu, who explains to him that everything looked too suspicious. On the third floor, despite being a bunch of students with no chance of defense, the infected didn't attack until he showed up on his rescue mission. The rope scene was also suspicious. The infected ran after the student with no regard for his life, as if someone had already decided his demise at the cost of everything. All this to place him in a situation where he could not escape. And, as Chie appeared on the scene, it would serve to prove to him that he possessed the necessary skills that would make him a good candidate for the Night Watchman. Then they came up with a somewhat risky hypothesis that would balance everything they knew, and in order to protect his identity, the demonic snake Nanta created a second personality which he called Li Yifei. Lin Qiaye explains that the Nanta demon snake is different from the rest of the mythological beings because its high degree of intelligence made it understand the functioning of the human civilization since a long time ago, which allowed it to assimilate into the society. With the passage of time, she discovered the existence of stronger human beings, and that led her to make her preparations to neutralize the growing threat. To do so, she created a second personality, Li Yifei, with which she infiltrated the city as a student. If life had remained placid and calm, she could have lived for many years enjoying all that human civilization has to offer. However, the incident with the king of the Phantom Masks 6 months earlier set off his alarm bells and led him to consider the possibility of being the next target of the Night Watchman. In a one-on-one battle, he would have everything to lose since his combat skills are practically nil. So he devised a plan where, after a masterful performance, he would look like a hero, which would serve as an endorsement to be accepted by the Night Watchman and thus be able to escape from the situation of imminent danger. With a hint of sarcasm, Yifei applauds the protagonist as she congratulates him for unraveling all aspects of his plan of action and, without giving him time to react, takes the form of a beast and prepares to finish Chie off. The beast launches its attack but is blocked by the protagonist as it turns out that night has come and the Starry Night Dancer has been activated, which increases his strength by 5. And with a couple of swings of his sword, he manages to mortally wound the demon and then decapitate it with ease. This concludes the emergency. The special forces of the Night Watchman show up at the scene to clean up the mess and erase the affected memories of the students. Captain Chen Muye, conversing with Wu Xiangnan, asks him what would be appropriate to close the protagonist's first successful mission, and his second accuses him of favoritism. Chimo greets Ying's group, and the captain asks Chiye about her condition, which annoys the young woman, but Xiangnan tells her that she should be thankful that they don't take money from her salary to pay for all the things she destroyed inside the school. On their way to the car, a service technician informs the captain that there is a problem. The captain patiently tries to calm the technician so that he can explain the situation. The technician informs him that the demon's head has disappeared. Then the captain asks for more details and is told that when they were cleaning up the scene of the last battle, the head was nowhere to be found, so they searched everywhere and nothing. Everyone who left the building was thoroughly searched, but none of them had the head in their possession. Then the captain gives the order to use dream whispers. With that, they will lose the memories of the day, and if anyone hid the head, they will no longer have knowledge of what happened. However, Cheye is left wondering if it was Qing Yu who took the beast's skull. In the shadows, Qing Yu tries to escape from the effect of dream whispers, but it is a very powerful technique. Looking for a hiding place, he reaches a sewer through which he enters the city's sewers. Lying on the floor, he opens the bag on his shoulder and extracts the head of the snake. When he looks into its eyes, it transmits its power, giving him an understanding, which he did not have before, of demonic creatures and using a knife. He cuts the skull for his study. In the dream realm, in the Asylum of the Gods, Yifei has suddenly appeared inside a cell without knowing how she got there. Suddenly, all the memories assault his memory, and he remembers his identity as the demon snake Nanta and all the damage he did. A voice greets him behind his back, and when he turns around, he meets the protagonist and, recognizing him, tries to attack him in desperation. When the protagonist checks Yifei's description, he finds that there are two loyalty indexes present in the same person, as if they were two personalities in one. Chie stands up to the monster, who reminds him that eliminating him would also eliminate Li Yifei, who is innocent of everything. With sarcasm, the protagonist explains to the demon that what happens to Yifei is not a matter of the slightest interest to him. The important thing now is that the beast proves to be good for something, for if it doesn't, what awaits it is the most ignominious of deaths. With his desperation rising and a tone of tension in his voice, the Nanta demon snake goes about listing his abilities and potentialities, but none of it is useful to the protagonist, who simply minimizes everything the beast can do. With nothing useful to offer after all, the beast gives up and meets his end when Chie asks him if he knows how to take care of a patient and make grannies happy. Surprised by the request, the snake answers no, which ends up dispelling Chi's doubts, and he sets out to make the snake disappear at once. All scared, from the back of the cell, the snake reveals to him that Li Yifei is good at taking care of others, and, making a decision, the protagonist decides to spare his life and make him a service contract, as long as Li Yifei is the one who controls the body all the time. Once the demon promises him obedience, Chie changes his appearance to one more in line with the role to be played, that of a nurse. As if awakening from a very long sleep, Yifei becomes aware of the place and stretches his body with ease. Then the protagonist takes him to meet the person he will have to take care of. As they make their way to the gardens, Chie explains the situation to Yifei and details his duties. In the gardens, they approach Nyx, to whom she introduces the new tenant of the asylum. The goddess stares at him for a long time, until she manages to reconcile her memories with the person in front of her and assumes that she is in the presence of one of her grandchildren. At Yifei's nervousness, Chie gives her a sign of agreement and leaves them alone to get to know each other better. As he walks through the corridors of the asylum, Chie recounts his accomplishments. He has made progress in his classes, not as much as he had hoped, but at a steady and sustained pace. Before he knows it, the day has come for him to attend the new recruits training camp. Captain Chen Muye gives the last necessary instructions and instructs Hong Ying to take the protagonist to equip himself with everything necessary for the camp before leaving. The young woman quickly gets down to work. Elsewhere, a young man receives a massage on his plump body. In the meantime, he reads the information he receives from his assistant cameraman that the event will be held in Kangnan City and not in Shangjing City, as was the custom. Undaunted by the information, the young man orders a flight to Kangnan City while he goes to make final preparations. In a mountain temple, a young man is in the midst of meditation. Dark forces try to assault his soul, putting him in a bad situation, but they disperse when an old man's voice is heard in the room. A monk brings him the letter of invitation to the camp in Gangnan City. Donor Cao Yuan reads the invitation in detail and doubts whether he should go to Gangnan. When asked, the monk explains that for 5 years he has been meditating to successfully suppress his demonic nature, so there is no problem with making the trip to Gangnan City. However, Donor consults him about the sins weighing on him, and the monk replies that each sin is balanced by a good deed, so there is no problem. Convinced, Donner decides to make the journey, but not before receiving a warning from the monk. On his journey, he will meet a person who can help him to wash away his sin and achieve all that he has desired. The young man asks for more information, and the monk only answers him with a riddle: two timbers to set him straight, 8 gods with one fallen, entering the night for 10 years to help mortals defend their position. Meanwhile, Ying has taken Xie to a mega store where he can buy everything he needs for the camp. Shonan accompanies them as an advisor. After an arduous struggle, the protagonist manages to gather a decent team and heads to the train station. The team has come to see him off and finalize the details. Chie thanks them for everything and heads for the train to Shangjing City. At that moment, Captain Chen Muye receives a call that the camp has been moved to Gangnan City this year. Upon hearing this news, everyone rushes to catch up with the protagonist before he takes the wrong train. On a starry night, a cruise ship makes its crossing without any problem. Suddenly, a vibration is felt throughout the ship. From the bottom of the sea, a beast has raised a tentacle and has seized the ship, lifting it into the air and prepares to engulf it. At that moment, it is attacked from an unknown point and is forced to release the ship. Annoyed, the beast releases the ship and heads for the coast, attracted by the lights of the city. A precision cut slices the beast to pieces, ending the problem. On shore, a group observes how well Captain Wang Mian masters the sword in his hands. Luo Sha and Xuanfeng discuss the situation, as the captain reminds him that they must attend the new recruit camp. Xuanfeng is unhappy with that order, and Luo Sha reminds him that it was sent directly from the top of the chain of command, so they must go and lend their assistance to the rookies. The bosses must have some reason to need them. As Chia walks through the solitude of a forest, he is watched carefully. He arrives at some security gates where he stops waiting to be admitted. When the gates open, a soldier appears behind them and, after verifying the identity of the protagonist, invites him to enter the complex, informing him that he has arrived several days earlier. It is Hong Dao, an instructor of the new recruits training camp, who gives him a tour of the facilities while describing the whole place. He shows him the training areas, the dining hall, the classrooms, the urban combat training area, the firing range. With great attention, Chie observes and analyzes everything he learns. Wherever he passes, everyone stares at him, which triggers his curiosity, and when he asks why, Hong Dao explains that everyone in the camp is interested in seeing the divine agent who has come to the camp this year. The protagonist asks if he is the first divine agent to come to the camp, and Dao explains that the last one to pass through here is the current captain of the Mask Squad, one of the 4 special operations teams. Together, the 4 captains are the second largest force among the night watchmen, second only to the commanding general. Once in the dormitories, Chie is just settling in when a stranger bursts open the door, and suddenly a security detail storms the room and begins to conduct an all-around inspection. When they are satisfied, a caravan of suitcases and belongings enters the place, leaving the protagonist surprised. When they finish, Bailey Tuming appears at the entrance with his valet, who asks his young master to reconsider his decision since this place is not suitable for the high lineage of the master. Ming refuses and reminds him that he has come to this place to suffer privations to temper his spirit. When checking the place, the assistant observes Chie's suitcases and, seeing the deplorable state they are in, orders them to be removed immediately from the place. The protagonist then prepares to teach manners to anyone who tries anything against his belongings when Ming takes him by the hand and greets him very effusively, almost idolatrously. Seeing Bailey Tu Ming's behavior, the aide is surprised and asks him about the stranger's identity. With an air of intrigue, Ming lures the old man to explain a secret, and when he has him within firing range, gives him a resounding slap for offending his new best friend and brother for the next 4 years by sending him down the hall. He then orders to bring the exclusive gifts he has brought to show his new friend the value of his fraternal friendship. When they open the containers, Chie finds himself in front of a collection of watches and garments, each valued in the millions. Ming apologizes for how overprotective his family is and offers the protagonist everything he has brought as a token of his friendship. Chie is genuinely impressed when he observes the quality of the jewelry in front of him, but still decides to refuse the gift. Ming hangs onto his leg until she manages to convince him otherwise. Days pass, and more recruits continue to arrive. A commotion alerts Lin Chie that Ming is still making new friends with his technique of giving away fine jewelry. The noise attracts the trainers who, at gunpoint, call them out for breaking the order of the place. Ming is uncovered in front of the trainer, and he informs them all to report to the training camp in 15 minutes. Once at the training camp, the recruits are in formation and listen to the words of Commander Yuan Gang, Commander-in-Chief of the new recruits training camp. In a sobering speech, the commander informs the new recruits that, until he says so, they are just trash. Their special skills and influential families are nothing until the moment he says so. With their strength and abilities, they are not capable of taking on powerful mythological creatures, and if anyone disagrees, they can raise their hand. From the middle of the group, a rookie raises his hand to show his disapproval, and the rest cascade to join him. Chie follows the situation closely, and Ming asks him if he agrees with what the commander says, and he replies that yes, at the present time they are no match for a mighty mythological creature. Ming replies that he will join him in his opinion. Faced with this army of raised hands, the commander announces to them that they will have the opportunity to prove him wrong. High above, a cargo plane crosses the skies. Inside, one of the mass squadrons is eating breakfast while waiting for the order to jump. Without warning, when the order comes, the floor opens and they all plummet into the void. Xuanfeng screams at the top of his lungs at the absence of a parachute, as he is afraid of heights. Luosha scolds him for his outrage while informing him that nothing bad is going to happen to them. From the ground, the rookies watch as a squadron of the mass comes falling towards them. With grace and agility, the mass squadron lands in front of the newcomers, except for Xuanfeng, who crashes hard on the floor. Xuanfeng joins in and, introducing the group, welcomes the rookies while wishing them a happy new year. Ming is surprised by the good wishes expressed as the new year is 8 months away, while Chie watches the situation carefully. Captain Wang Mian makes a formal introduction of the group, while the rookies are not out of their astonishment to see the mass squadron in front of them. Commander Yuan Gang informs them that in order for them to understand their true place, he has invited the mass squad to a friendly competition. They have 7 hours, starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, to remove the mask from one of the squad members. No matter what methods they use, if one succeeds, the entire squadron will be graduated immediately and will complete their training. If they don't succeed, they will be labeled as scum and will have to obey the instructors in everything without any opposition. One of the recruits protests because the difference in levels is abysmal, and the commander reminds him that, on the battlefield, he will not have the opportunity to choose the enemy that best suits his abilities. At that moment, the captain takes the floor and offers to lower their level, as well as the other members of the squadron, to match that of the rookies. It would be 239 rookies against 5, a fight quite biased towards the recruits. Surprised, the rookies agreed to the challenge. As a last piece of information, Commander Yuan Gang offers them all the weaponry and facilities of the training camp for their use in the battle. They can do as they please without sparing any effort to break or wreck anything. Everything can be restored without any problem. Donor asks when they can start, and Captain Wang informs him 5 minutes ago. One of the rookies launches a fire attack trying to catch the group off guard, and when it hits the target, everyone prepares to fight. Ming tries to join the battle, but Chie pulls him out of it, and when he shows his surprise, explains to him that attacking an enemy whose combat power or skills you don't know is like signing your own death warrant. The rest of the rookies are blissful as the mass attack strategy seems to have worked to perfection, but the happiness is wiped off their faces when, as the dust clears, they find the mask squad unharmed behind the protection of an impenetrable mental shield. They are all surprised by what they see, and Luo Sha takes advantage of the moment to attack them with his hammer, sending them flying through the air. Taking advantage of the break, Shaw reminds them that the captain doesn't want to eat his cold lunch, so they all have to be finished in less than half an hour. Everyone nods and launches into the attack. In the monitoring room, the instructors see how the squadron has taken down most of the rookies and wonder if it was a good idea to bring in an elite group to take on a bunch of wannabes. This is going to be a massacre. Entering the place, Commander UN Gang refutes their opinion while explaining that the most reckless have fallen first, but the most intelligent have retreated to organize themselves. That leaves the most useless out of the competition, and those who really hope to face the squadron can now fight with all their strength. Although it is useless since the squadron has Wang Mian, which makes it very difficult to beat them. Mian informs the captain of the escape of a group of recruits to the weapons warehouse and then orders Yue Gui to block the door while the rest surround them from behind. With his soul in his throat, Ming keeps running after the protagonist until he informs him that they have reached their destination, the weapons warehouse, an immense reinforced shed with a huge door blocking access. Commander Yuan offered them all the weaponry they could use. He never told them that the door would be open. Chie analyzes the situation and asks Ming to destroy the door, since he does not have forbidden ruins with large-scale destruction capability. Ming confesses to him that he does not possess any forbidden ruins, which leaves the protagonist surprised, and when he is listening to the explanation, a voice orders them to get out of the way, and a girl, just by placing her hand on the door, shatters it, allowing them to enter. Ming finds himself enraptured with the young girl. Once inside, as they gear up for combat, Chie asks the girl about the type of ruin she used earlier, and she asks him why she should give him that information. The protagonist asks her if she doesn't want to win, and she asks him if giving her that information will ensure victory, and if he doesn't think she's being a little too arrogant. Chie stares at her and, unsheathing his sword, orders her not to move while pointing it at him, just in time to block the attack of a sword coming through the air. Everyone is surprised, and Ming wonders if it's a flying knife, but Chie gets him out of his mistake by explaining that it's one of the masks, which is able to hide completely. Surprised, he appears in front of them and asks Chie if he can see it, and Chie answers in the affirmative. Analyzing him, Yuegui realizes that he is in front of the Seraphim agent because of the resemblance of his aura with that of Captain Wang. The young woman loses her patience because of the surprise attack and decides to attack him with her ruin, managing to cut off his arm with one blow. Ming starts to celebrate, but Chie brings him down from his cloud as his opponent's arm is back in place. The young girl is surprised by the fact and starts to think of rapid regeneration, but the protagonist gets her out of her mistake by explaining that this individual can control moonlight, which he used to avoid the blow of his wind blade and come out unharmed. Seeing the protagonist's potential, Yuegui decides to eliminate him first because of his high degree of danger. A sound alerts him as he is attacked from behind by surprise. The rookies celebrate their triumph, but as the dust clears, Yuegui jumps on them to attack. As he launches his lunge, he is blocked by Chie, who, using the power of Seraphim, catches him in midair and pushes him away from the spot, suppressing his ruin at the same time. The protagonist attacks him for a moment and then moves out of the way in surprise and warns the others to attack him with everything they have. The rookies raise their weapons ready to attack, but not fast enough, and, in that second of indecision, their weapons are snatched out of their hands by Wang Mian. Surprised everyone, Gui welcomes the arrival of his companions who scold him for how long he is taking with a simple group of rookies until Gui informs them that inside the warehouse is a divine agent who is making his life miserable. Xuanfeng mocks him, since despite being a divine agent, he is still a rookie and shouldn't pose any problems. Luosha asks them to stop wasting time to finish quickly and continue with the rest of the rookies. Chie, Ming, and Molly overhear the conversation and try to decide what to do. The protagonist asks them to follow his orders to try to maximize their chance of escape. He then asks the rest to prepare to escape, even though it is the mask squad. There is a chance to disperse, as there are so many against so few. The rookies find logic in the protagonist's statement, while the mask squad wonders why they always want to run away from the place when what they have to do is to accept their defeat. In a low voice, Chie asks Molly to prepare to break the wall on his signal, then launches a harangue to the rest of the rookies to attack all together. Hearing them, the mask squad gets excited and prepares to receive the attack. Throwing the signal to the young girl, Molly smashes the wall of the warehouse and the rookies take the opportunity to all run for the exit. Seeing the movement, Wang Mian gives the order to attack as they all run, and Luo Sha throws his giant hammer at them, blocking the makeshift exit in the wall. Ming can't believe they have all been defeated as Chie drags him out of the blue and escapes with Molly through the main entrance, while the young woman congratulates him on the strategy he had of sacrificing the others to ensure their escape. Chie orders him to shut up and keep running so they won't be caught up. Ming can't keep up with them, and Molly proposes to abandon them without further ado, to which Chie agrees. While Luo Sha finishes off the rest of the recruits, Mian reports the escape of three of them, and the captain orders Xuanfeng to take care of them immediately.